Good evening everyone, and welcome back to another stream from the Scientists Reverse Grid Racing League. Tonight it's going to be rounds 7 and 8 I believe, and we are currently at Spa-Francorchamps for the Belgian Grand Prix, which will be starting shortly, and after that we'll also be racing at the Paul Ricard circuit in France. So another double header from the Scientist League, two 25% races coming up. The grid order for these races is decided by the classifications from the last Grand Prix, and it's basically that grid, or the finishing results from the last race, are reversed. So for this race, that means that we've got Scientists starting on pole from Lando Bot, Mumram, Moshe, John Banter, Ballux, Chappie, Zander Davy, and then G-Mac and Infamous rounding out the top 10. So the drivers are just going through their formation lap at the moment, as we just take a quick look here at the tyre strategies, a mix of softs and mediums for the start of the race. The top 4 all on the soft tyres, and then John Banter in 5th on the mediums, and 7th to 10th all on the medium tyre as well, out of the top 10. So we'll just wait a moment here for the drivers to come through the 3rd sector up to the start-finish line, and then we will be able to get going for tonight. A couple of drivers have just been disqualified from the formation lap, but that won't affect them for the race. They'll just be automatically put into their grid slots, and you can see now that there's a couple of cars there waiting on the grid already as the field approaches. As the cars now forming up at the back, and this is not a very good camera angle, so we'll change it a bit and just wait now for the red lights to come on for the start of the Belgian Grand Prix in Scientists Reverse Grid League Tier 1. The lights are out and away we go in Spa-Francorchamps. It looks like it's been a good start from Scientists. Mumram has got up ahead of Lando Bot into P2, and there's a bit of contact there with a Ferrari. I think that was Chappie or Zander, was it? But there was almost a spinning McLaren there. But apart from that, it looks like a pretty clear getaway. And here we've got the Red Bull and the Williams, I think, going side by side through Eau Rouge. And Chappie, we saw in the background, just went completely straight on coming up the hill. And he looks to be out of the race. Well, he can get going again. Virtual safety car is deployed, but didn't really see the, well, Chappie's left, so clearly he's not very happy with the incident that's just occurred. But yeah, we just saw him in the background go completely straight on coming up Eau Rouge and Raidillon, and it's caused this virtual safety car, which will hopefully be finishing soon and we can get back to green racing. And we are now back to green racing, and Ballux seems to have jumped Mumram, and Royal Harvey as well was able to get ahead of Aces. G-Mac on the mediums is also right on the back of John Banter. He's got his ERS set to overtake, so trying to make a move here on lap 1. Infamous, his teammate, who had a strong round last week with the Abu Dhabi and Vietnam great races. And Twitch has retired. And you can see his marker there, the yellow flag in the third sector. That's between Blanchimont and the bus stop chicane. So 2 retirements from the race so far. Meadsy's picked up a penalty, I guess, for corner cutting, and we have another virtual safety car. We have 2 cars in the pits also. That's the Slayer having a wing change. ENMC also having a wing change, and they're both pitting onto the medium tyres, which they hope will be able to get them the rest of the way. And with the VSC being out, they are unlikely to lose too much time by making their pit stops, or at least not as much as they would have done. They're still, as you can see on the map, significantly far behind the rest of the field. And once again we await the conclusion of this virtual safety car period with Lando Bot here in the McLaren, hoping that he can possibly make a move on the Scientist. And we are back to green flag racing, so we'll wait and see whether or not Lando can close in on the AlphaTauri ahead of him. He's got his overtake button deployed, and he has closed in by maybe 1/10 of a second coming down that straight. I'm pretty sure that this is lap 2, not lap 3. And I think now we move on to lap 3. Yes, we do. And a few drivers there setting the fastest lap, but we haven't really had a full lap of green flag racing so far, so those times probably not representative. And we see now Serious Mushroom in 15th sets the fastest lap, 1:56.1. Ideally around here we'd be seeing times under 1 minute 50 seconds during the race. Lando Bot has the DRS on Scientist, but not able to get close enough at the end of the Camel Straight. Royal Harvey and John Banter look like they changed positions there, although Royal Harvey looks to be quite a way ahead of John Banter, who still has GMAC on the back of him, and GMAC has gone through courtesy of John Banter running wide. Ian is out of the race, and that is another Eau Rouge Raidillon incident. Very easy to lose the car through there, and without seeing what happened, I'd imagine that that's the problem that Ian had. Yellow flag out in sector 1. Unsurprisingly, GMAC has dropped right back from, or he's pulled away rather, from John Banter quite significantly since overtaking him. And here we see a train forming from Mosher in P3 to Xander Davy here in the Ferrari in P6. Xander Davy well positioned in the early laps as the leading medium tyre runner, and there we see a much more representative time from Scientists over the line, a 1 minute 45.8. Aces is going past Meadsy on the run down to turn 1. And also having a look there is Lulu in the Renault, but Meadsy's able to hold him off and stay in 12th position. And here we see the battle for third. Ballux has been able to move ahead of Mosher into P3. Will Monra make a move as well? He does not. He stays in P5, and Xander Davy is really pressuring the Red Bull and having a bit of contact with the rear of Monram's car. Hopefully that's not resulted in any damage for Xander. A couple more 3-second time penalties have occurred as well. Royal Harvey getting past Infamous there for P7. So he's looking pretty good at this stage of the race. And there's a spinning McLaren. Mosher losing it on the exit. And he's dropped right down the order. And that's promoted Royal Harvey up into P6 and the two Mercedes as well, up to 7th and 8th. Royal Harvey on a charge on the mediums. And Zander Davy looking to go around the outside of Mumram into the bus stop, and he's done that well. Nice move. Mumram looks like he's having quite a lot of problems here on the softs, as Royal Harvey now with the DRS open is also going through. Infamous trying to go through on Mumram as well. He's not able to do that just yet, but although coming up the hill he should have a pretty good opportunity. And also Landobot closing in on Scientist. This is for the lead of the race. Scientist defending the inside and doing it well. Infamous, has he got past Mumran? Yes, even before the braking zone there, although he went a bit wide and is now having to cover off. Oh, and that very clumsy from the two Mercedes cars, I have to say. I think it was GMAC who took a very tight line there into that corner and caused Mumran to spin. I'm guessing the Red Bull driver will not be best pleased about what just happened, but either way, he's dropped down outside of the top 10 now, and the two Mercedes have moved up to 5th and 6th and 7th rather. P5 belongs to Royal Harvey, who's closing in on Zander Davy in the Ferrari. And we've got another retirement at the top of Radion, that is Lulu in the Renault. So another yellow flag in the first sector. Will we see another virtual safety car? Or a full safety car? Doesn't look like it. Scientist is in the pit lane. So he made it to the end of lap 5 on the soft tyres, and is now looking to get the undercut on Lando, who has carried on for another lap. And he will be pushing as hard as he can here on what is effectively his in-lap, to see if he can take the lead away from Scientist, the AlphaTauri driver. John Banter picks up a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. Corner cutting is on strict in this league, so no surprises to see a fair few of those penalties occurring. So let's just ride on board with Lando for a bit as he is on his in-lap here. I'd imagine he'll be pitting at the conclusion of lap 6 to try and get ahead of Scientist. It's looking pretty clean and tidy from the McLaren, coming through the middle sector, and now into the third sector, deploying a bit of his overtake before coming up through Blanchimont now, and then the bus stop chicane. And is Lando going to pit? Yes, he is. Lando pits from the lead. What about Ballux? He also pits. So, as expected, the soft tyre runners going to the end of lap 6. That's going to push Royal Harvey up into the lead of the race. But what about Scientist? He has already pitted. Lando and Ballux coming down the pit lane. I thought Ballux had jumped Lando for a second there. Scientist now coming up to turn 1. La Source, the La Source hairpin, and he is behind Lando. Although they're going side by side here, and has Scientist managed to hold on to his lead only just. But Lando coming straight back onto the attack on the Kemmel Straight. He hasn't got DRS, and they're going side by side here through these sequence of corners, and Lando has overtaken Scientist, and Scientist has picked up a 3-second time penalty to add to his problems. But Landobot into the lead effectively of the race on lap 7. So the overcut there working beautifully for the McLaren, which is quite a surprise to see the old softs doing better than the fresh mediums, but that's what's happened. And we're also seeing obviously the medium tyre runners pitting for fresh softs for the closing stint of this race, and Royal Harvey is now making his stop as well. He was in P1. He will lose that to Lando in a moment. But Royal Harvey was looking pretty impressive on the mediums, catching up the guys going ahead, so it will be interesting to see where he emerges. He's currently set to be in about P5. And yep, just behind Ballots in the Williams, and Zander Davy up into P3 at the moment. So now everyone, I think, has pitted and should be on a tyre. Yep, everyone has pitted and everyone is on tyres that should be able to get to the end of the race. Here's just a quick look at the penalties situation. Scientist in P2 has a 3-second penalty, which would potentially drop him back behind Zander Davy and Ballots at the moment. We just saw the Slayer setting a fastest lap. He's not had a great time of it today. He had an incident near the start which damaged his front wing, and he had to pit at the end of the first lap. And he's currently 21 seconds or almost 22 seconds behind Moshe in the second McLaren. John Banter has a 6-second time penalty. Infamous and Meadsy have 3 seconds. J Sarge has 6 seconds worth in 11th place, and is actually quite close to the back of Meadsy for the final point paying position, but J Sarge would have to overtake Meadsy and then pull away from him by 3 seconds if he was to hold on to that position. The Slayer has just picked up his second time penalty rather. He's now on 6 seconds, as well as Moshe in P15. So that's the situation with penalties, and we're now watching Royal Harvey closing in on... Why is there a ghosting Ferrari? I think that's Chappie. I think that's Chappie's car. And Royal Harvey easily overtaking Ballots for 4th. So he now is seeking a podium with Zander Davy just less than a second ahead. J Sarge battling with DB Coupe, his Haas teammate, who's approaching on quicker tyres. J Sarge has been on the mediums for 5 laps already, so his tyre wear by the end of the race could be significantly more than the other cars around. He's right up to the back of Meadsy here and is looking up the inside. Meadsy defending it nicely around the outside on that occasion. And Coupe right up behind these two also. This is a battle only for 1 point. DB Coupe closing up behind his teammate, but just backing off a little bit there, deciding to hold back a bit before maybe making an attack around the outside of the bus stop, and he brakes much later than Jay Sarge and now has the inside line, although he's cut the corner a bit and picked up a penalty. So that's disappointing for him. Let's go back to this battle now for second. Scientist has been closed up to by Zander Davey, and Royal Harvey as well, getting very squiggly there on the outside. But with the DRS open, these two going side by side, and contact. Zander Davey spinning out, and Royal Harvey really on the offensive here. He's got past Scientist as well, but that has resulted in him getting a 3-second time after corner cutting. And I'd imagine that Zander Davey will have something to say about that incident after the race as well. But for the time being, with about a lap and a half to go, Royal Harvey is the quickest man out there. He just set the fastest lap on lap 9, and he is almost within a second of Landobot now for first, as we see DP Coupe now overtaking Sarge, and Sarge dropping back. Looks like he's had a problem there. He's back in P14 at this stage of the race. But could we see a battle for the lead on the final lap? Landobot leading, Royal Harvey in second and closing the gap rapidly, even before DRS. He must have a lot of ERS to deploy, and he has used all of that up now. But if Landobot can preserve a bit more, which it looks like he's managed to, he might be okay. He's got enough of a gap there to hold on to the lead coming into, or at the end of that DRS straight. Royal Harvey rather, is so attacking right now and going a bit too much there. He lost the back end, which has given Landobot a bit of breathing space. Going through Pouon now, and Harvey hoping that he can set this up for the bus stop chicane, the very last corner. And now this is Stabilo, and onto a long straight now, which will include the fast left-hander of Blanchimont, and Royal Harvey is using overtake, but he's running out of it as well, so he might have to turn it off, and that could give Landobot just enough of a gap. Landobot also doesn't have any penalties, so either way it doesn't matter. Landobot, coming out of the bus stop chicane, takes the checkered flag and wins the Belgian Grand Prix from Harvey. Scientist crossed the line in third, but his 3-second penalty dropped him behind Ballocks. So third place for the Williams. Scientist in fourth place, Zander Davey in fifth, GMAC in sixth position, then Serious Mushroom, Infamous in eighth, Aces versus Kings in ninth, and Meadsy in P10. Now Chappie is going to be the last placed finisher, but I'm pretty sure that he left the session quite early on in that race, so whether or not he has pole position for the next race at France, we will have to wait and see. But an impressive drive from Lando. He managed to get the overcut on Scientist during the pit stop phase, and he held off a charging Royal Harvey towards the end and picks up 25 points. Of course, it does mean that he will be starting near the back for the next race in France, but for the time being he can savour the taste of the champagne and congratulate himself on a job well done in that race. It was a well executed drive, and is rewarded for that with the win. Royal Harvey was driver of the day. He moved from 14th to 2nd, so no arguments about that. And further back we have Meadsey, who came from last to 10th, so that was a good drive from him. And Coupe as well, he started 19th and finished 11th, so another impressive drive from the Haas driver as well. And as we can see, plenty of time penalties affecting a few of the positions. So I'm just going to take a quick break before race 2, the French Grand Prix, as the grid order is arranged for the next round, and I will see you shortly for the French Grand Prix. So just seeing now the drivers ready for French race, so just waiting a few seconds for the lobby to start, and then we'll be away for race 2 tonight at the Paul Ricard circuit in France. Not much of a favourite this one in real F1. Certainly not compared to Spa-Francorchamps where we just raced, but hopefully we'll see some good racing here on the game. And we'll just give a quick update as well on the standings coming into these 2 races tonight. So this is before before the Belgian Grand Prix we just saw. But it was Aces leading the way by 3 points from the Slayer, and then Zander in P3. He was on 63 points, Slayer was on 72, and Aces 75. The Scientist was in 4th with 58. Then Infamous on 53. Needsy had 42. Royal Harvey had 41 in 7th. 8th was J Sarge with 38. GMAC was 9th with 36, and we had Balax in 10th with 35. And just an honourable mention as well for Lando, who just won the Belgium race. He had only 9 points coming into that race, so he's boosted his points tally quite significantly with that one. So good job, Lando. Aces and Slayer at the top of the standings before that race didn't really feature too prominently in that Grand Prix, so they'll be hoping to do a bit better around this next track. And I think they both finished outside of the points in Spa, so they'll have more favourable grid positions for race 2. And yep, we can see it for the Slayer. He's going to be starting on pole, and Aces is going to be in 8th position. And again, just a quick look at the tyre strategies. Slayer is using the mediums on pole position. And in fact, everyone from 1st to 9th is on the alternate tyre to the car ahead, so medium soft, and so on. And then quite a lot of medium tyre runners from Infamous in 9th down to Balax in 14th, and then it's mostly soft tyre runners at the back. Royal Harvey, who started 14th in Spa and finished 2nd, is going to have a similar job ahead of him here if he wants to progress up the field. He's starting 15th, and Lando, the winner from Spa, is going to be 16th. And it looks as though Chaplin has left the session after what we saw happen to him at the start of the Belgian Grand Prix, where he crashed out coming up the hill at Eau Rouge and Raidillon, and that was the last we saw from him tonight. The front of the grid now, just coming around the final corner to form up on the grid for the French Grand Prix. And the Slayer, who was the championship, well, he was in 2nd in the championship before tonight, is starting in the perfect spot to pick up another good points total. But he's got the soft tyres of Moshe just alongside him, so it'll be interesting to see how those two compounds compare in the early going of this race. So we're just waiting for the grid to form up, and the lights are coming on now. And we're away for the French Grand Prix. And did Moshe get a good start? He did. Looks like he's taken the lead, and J Sarge also getting a good start into turn 1. And he's gone through ahead of Moshe, so Moshe backed off, and J Sarge takes the lead, and there's big problems. Where is the Slayer? He is all the way back in P10, so looks like there was some pretty big problems there off the start, and we have a safety car. And a bit of front wing there in the middle of the track. And the leaderboard is going crazy as well. All sorts of people showing up as leading when they're not. It's J Sarge leading the race. And the Slayer is in P2, so he actually didn't drop back as much as I thought. Or as much as the leaderboard was having me believe at the start of that race. And Moshe in P3 as well, so... Between those guys there wasn't quite as hectic a start as I had thought at first. But let's check out the position changes on that first lap and just see what happened. And yeah, pretty much no one staying in their original position. Scientists from 13th up to 6th. Great start from him. GMAC started 11th and he's in 5th. Lulu left started 17th and is up to P7. GMAC pitting in the Mercedes, quite a few cars pitting. And at the back we see some drivers who had terrible starts. Infamous dropping to last place. Mumran dropping down 13 places, so he started 4th, he's 17th. And Coupe was 6th and is now 18th. Aces versus Kings had a bad start as well. He's dropped to 16th and is in the pits. And a couple of the drivers who pitted have gone for the hards, so they're going to try and go to the end of the race from here. Lulu has put on the mediums, as well as Ian. Aces has put on the mediums, so it's going to be interesting to see whether or not the mediums are able to go to the end. I'd have thought that the hards will. And the mediums probably can too, as long as the drivers are conservative in their style to make sure that the tyre wear isn't as bad as it could be. GMAC in 10th place, and he was one of the drivers who pitted, and he's got the hards on, so that's worked out pretty well for him really. And where did he start this race? I think it's saying that his starting position was 10th, so he's managed to get his mandatory pit stop out of the way and hold on to track position, so that's a good job. So I'd imagine the safety car will be out for another lap at the end of this current one as the drivers who pitted catch up to the back of the pack. They're not far away already. Don't really see any incidents to warrant a full safety car. No one's retired. And we only really saw bits of front wing scattered on the track, but it's certainly created some drama and mixed up the order. So certainly not too big a problem to have the safety car coming out almost straight away. But hopefully it will be coming in at the end of this lap so that we can get going again. And see what sort of pace the drivers have got. And it was a great start from J Sarge, as we saw the Slayer didn't get a particularly good getaway, but J Sarge and Moshe starting in 2nd and 3rd did get much better starts, and J Sarge was ultimately able to dive it down the inside into turn 1 to take the lead. And of course, for the drivers who haven't pitted, The safety car is coming in this lap. But for the drivers who haven't pitted, these 2 or 3 laps behind the safety car has allowed them to conserve their tyres, so they'll be able to stretch out their stints a bit longer than they would have done without the safety car, which will certainly help out the soft tyre runners. And we're just waiting now as Jay Sarge controls the field, allows the safety car to get away from him, and we'll just have to wait and see when he puts the hammer down to restart this race, as the Slayer warming up his tyres behind him and weaving across the track in order to do so. And Jay Sarge is leaving it late, but he goes now through the final corner, and that's a pretty good getaway from Jay Sarge in the Haas, who leads the French Grand Prix at the start of lap 4. Behind him, the Slayer, Moshe, John Banter in P4, and see G-Mac immediately looking to make up positions. He's on the hards. Twitch is on the soft tyres just ahead of him, but it looked like G-Mac was able to get a better launch from the restart. And all the cars pretty close together here on this first lap, but they don't have DRS available to make any overtakes, so it's all down to raw pace and ERS usage. Looks like Lando's got a pretty good start in this race. He's up to P8. Twitch closing in behind him, but not able to make a move through there, maybe into the next corner. Oh, and very nearly problems for Twitch, and there are problems because he has dropped back behind G-Mac. So a costly mistake there. And look at this, John Banter with Ballux alongside him, coming into this final sequence of corners on the lap, and Ballux is through into P5. So a good move from him. And up at the front we're seeing the fastest laps being exchanged by Jay Sarge and the Slayer in the battle for the lead, and Serious Mushroom has got past John Banter as well for P6, and Landobot now looking to make a move past John Banter as well, who looks to be struggling at the moment and holding up a few cars behind him. Seeing again the Slayer close up behind his buddy Jay Sarge in the Haas. But without the DRS available, he's not able to make a move just yet. It is going to be enabled on the next lap, as Twitch has got back ahead of G-Mac. And now Scientist looking right around the outside of the Mercedes. That wasn't likely to work out there, but I think these guys on the hards, they just need to be patient. They've got a tyre that will get them to the end of the race. And the field is not pulling away from them enough at the moment for them to worry, so they can just keep out of trouble. Though Scientist is looking at the inside of G-Mac. G-Mac braking quite a bit later into turn 1, but then he goes wide a bit on the exit of 2. And Scientist is alongside. He's got the inside line for this next corner, and a bit of touching with G-Mac. And Meadsy having a look up the inside of G-Mac as well, and there was a bit of contact. That's just allowed Scientist to pull away, and the Slayer with the DRS has taken the lead of the race. Lando has got past John Banter as well, but the Slayer didn't get a particularly good exit after he'd made that move. There's no DRS down here though, so J Sarge can't muster up the speed to get back through, and he's going to drop back and hold on to second place for the time being. Lulu has retired from the race and left the session as Sarge goes a bit wide. He is going to get DRS on the pit straight, but Slayer getting a much better launch, and now we see some pit stops from Sirius, Mushroom and Twitch. Twitch, who was on the soft tyres for 6 laps, and this promotes the likes of Scientist and GMAC and Meadsy up the order. As they of course pitted behind the safety car, and they're still not that far behind Slayer leading the race. The gap between Slayer and Scientist is 8 seconds, so that's not enough for a pit stop. We do still have a few laps to go, however, so we'll have to see, as Xander Davey has gone through ahead of Moshe. It's a move for 3rd place, so Xander is up in the podium spots once again, just as he was in Spa. To make a pit stop as well, I believe, if I can find. Yeah, so the top 6 all have to stop, as well as John Banter in P8. He also has to make a pit stop in this race. And J Sarge pits, as well as Moshe and Balak, so he's going to be putting on the soft tyres. It's a long way down to the Haas pit garage. But they have got those soft tyres ready and waiting for him to pit onto. He's held a little bit as Balak's pits in the Williams garage ahead of him. And he's going to come out in P12 with the Racing Point coming down the pit lane. He's a long way behind the guys on those hard tyres, so looks like the decision to pit behind the safety car was a good one. It's really given these guys the advantage. Everyone from Scientist in 4th down to Coupe in 11th place. I think none of them have to stop. I think they've all made their stops. They have done. It's only the top 3 now who need to come in to change from their medium tyres. And if these guys can avoid too much battling between themselves, then it's a great chance for all of them to finish on the podium perhaps, or even in the case of Scientist to win the race, as the rest of the guys are pitting, and Scientist is going to be leading this Grand Prix quite comfortably from GMAC, and Meadsy's got himself into a podium position, although he's under attack from Harvey. In the Renault, Meadsy defends for the time being, but Harvey will have DRS on the next straight. So for Harvey, a chance for back-to-back podiums, and back-to-back podiums having started from similar positions outside of the top 10, and he's managed it. He's got ahead of Meadsy up into 3rd. And Meadsy won't be able to get him back on the next straight because there's no DRS down here, so Royal Harvey again on the charge, again moving up. And we're seeing further back, Infamous looks like he's had a problem. His hard tyres now struggling quite badly, and everyone around him on the fresh softs with a significant pace advantage to move back up. And that is the one thing that these guys have in their favour at the moment. Thinking about obviously the Slayer and J Sarge and Sander Davey, they're on fresh softs now, and everyone else ahead of them is on pretty old hards or mediums. So the pace advantage should be significant for them. And how far back is the Slayer? Well, he's 10.5 seconds adrift of Scientist. I don't think that gap is going to be overturned, considering he has to overtake everyone ahead of him as well. But he could still achieve a top 5 finish if he can get these overtakes done quickly and cleanly. And first up on the list is Coupe, and this is going to be a fairly straightforward move with the DRS open, and that is P7 now for the Slayer. Sarge in P9 is quite a ways behind Coupe at the moment, so he's going to have to get the hammer down to try and catch him up, and he's probably going to pull Sander Davey along with him. Landobot, the winner in Spa, is outside of the points right now, P13, and he's got everyone around him, or everyone ahead of him at least, on the same tyre. So this is going to be difficult for him to recover and get into the points. Sander is right on the back of J Sarge, and he's using ERS. Slayer sets a fastest lap of a 1 minute 30.7, so he's got the pace right now, as Sander Davey is ahead of Sarge now for 9th. And here Slayer is already on the back of Aces versus Kings, who has been his sort of rival in the standings in the early going, so significant battle between these two. But again, with the DRS, it should be a done deal for the Slayer, and he has overtaken the AlphaTauri and moved up to P6. And he's got a couple of cars battling ahead. That's Meadsy and Ian. Ian looking to get past the Williams, unable to do it just yet. Harvey has also caught GMAC. So a chance for Harvey to get back-to-back second places, whilst the Scientist in the lead, and comfortably in the lead now, 3.5 seconds. Looks like he will be picking up the maximum points from this race, as the Slayer has already caught up to the back of Ian. Meadsy also only a few tenths ahead. Looked like Slayer got a bit tail happy coming out of turns 1 and 2, and he dropped back a little bit there. So a few battles going on near the top of the points at the moment, and GMAC defending hard from Harvey, trying to preserve his P2, weaving left and right, but Harvey's still able to go down the inside, and GMAC gives that up. So Harvey again into P2 for the second consecutive race. Infamous with a 3-second penalty, and he's way down in P18. Not a good day for him. Slayer has dropped back quite significantly on the straight, and when did Scientist get a penalty? It's a 3-second penalty, and that has brought Royal Harvey back into the picture for the win. Because if you take 3 seconds off the lead, as the Slayer now picks up a penalty as well, that's his second. But the gap between Scientists and Harvey, as we start the final lap, is really only half a second. So it's a bit of a one-lap shootout between those two, as the Slayer now has got the inside line for this next corner, and he gets ahead of Ian for 5th on the last lap of the race. So I'd said before that P5 would be what the Slayer could aim for, and he's got himself into that position, although he does have an extra time penalty compared to Ian, and those penalties could potentially see him drop behind Aces and Zander as well. But look at this, Royal Harvey is almost within 3 seconds of Scientist, and that would give him the win. He's used up all of his ERS, and that gap is hovering just over the 3-second mark. 3.1, almost 3.2 now. It is 3.2. Has Scientist done enough to hold on to victory with that 3-second penalty? Oh, it's coming down again. Scientist out of the final corner and using up all of his ERS over the finish line here. Scientist takes the checkered flag. Royal Harvey is not close enough to take the victory away. And the Scientist Slayer is out just before the finish line. So what happened there? It's promoted everyone up the order, as you can imagine. Ian finishing in 7th. I think that was due to the penalty, but what happened to the Slayer? He was on for some points and DNF just before the finish line. Wow, what a crazy ending to that race. Unfortunately, we missed what happened to the Slayer, but goodness me. Dramatic conclusion to that Grand Prix at the front. Royal Harvey, driver of the day once again, picking up another 2nd place. Very good job from him. And a really great job from the Scientist, who I think was on the podium at Belgium as well. I think he got a 3rd place there. And he picks up the win in France to take 25 points. And I think it was also GMAC on the podium. It was GMAC in the Mercedes. So good drives from the top 3, all coming from outside of the top 10 to get onto the podium. Meadsy with a good result. Started 7th, finished 4th. And Zander Davy, the first of those who didn't pit under the safety car and was on the soft tyres later on. Aces in 6th position. Ian in 7th. He had a good race, coming up from 18th. Good job from him. Coupe in 8th. Lando, our winner from Spa, finishing in 9th. And J Sarge taking the final point position. The man who led it out of turn 1. But the safety car really changed the order of this race. And proved very costly for him and for the Slayer, who of course crashed out at the very end. He was probably no more than 20 meters away from the finish line, but well, he gets the fast. What a disappointment for him. So that's going to be it for the racing tonight. I just want to say thank you very much to everyone who's been watching the stream. Hope you all enjoyed the racing. Please feel free to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already for more commentary and some F1 racing from myself also. And hope you all have a pleasant evening, and also Merry Christmas for those who are going to be celebrating it, and also a Happy New Year. But for now, thank you very much for watching, guys, and we'll see you soon.